Hi, welcome to Module 14, Agile Leadership. In this particular module, we'll discuss Agile Leadership and the implementation part of it in organizational context. I'm Dr. Prabhakar Gantasala, Associate Dean at School of Business, Southern Connecticut State University. Model overview, we're going to talk about measurement philosophy, value-based metrics, leading versus lagging indicators, some measurement traps, purpose alignment as metric selection criteria, data availability and actionability as we progress a little deeper into the implementation aspect of agile leadership in an organizational context. So, what do agile leaders do when they're actually heading a particular project? One very important thing that they also take care of is value stream metrics. Now, value stream metrics is an important aspect of making sure your project is able to do what it is supposed to do. Is a lean management technique that visualizes the flow of materials and information through a production process. It is used to analyze, design, and improve processes, and an agile leadership does that, especially with taking care of lead time measurements, cycle time tracking, the value add ratios. How does it work? The value stream metrics, we identify the process to improve. That's the job of an agile leader. He has to identify a process that has to be improved. An agile leader also is responsible for defining the process's scope and objectives. So she is also in charge of mapping the current state of the process, figuring out how the process is panning out right now. And she should also be able to identify areas for improvement and inefficiencies. Where are the inefficiencies must be identified, and where those kind of changes and improvements can happen is to be identified as well. And after those inefficiencies have been mapped and the areas have been mapped, she also, as an agile leader, creates an action plan to implement the changes. That's what is about adding value. What is it used for? Value stream mapping is used for lean project management. It's a key component of lean project management, which aims to increase customer value by eliminating waste. It's also used for analyzing production processes. Value stream metrics are used to analyze the flow of work, flow of material, flow of information. So several types of projects can be used, like production, information-based projects, or material flow projects. What does it help in achieving? It improves sales and operations. Value stream metrics can identify areas for improvement in sales and production and operations. So it's very important as a tool that agile leaders can use value stream metrics to look at work in progress limits, bottlenecks that can be identified, queue management, and making those changes that are required to improve efficiencies and deliver projects on time. Then we are moving off to another way of looking at team performance metrics, including velocity and throughput. And what does it mean in terms of what an agile leader is supposed to be doing? Throughput and velocity are both metrics that measure a team's capacity to deliver work. As an agile leader, she has to be able to measure the different things. Throughput measures the quantity of work completed, while velocity measures the rate at which work is being completed by the team members. So the story point completion, work item aging, flow efficiencies. What throughput measures is the number of work items completed in a given time period, the efficiency of a team in delivering value to customers, that's the purpose of any project, and the actual work delivered, which can be affected by unexpected challenges or scope changes that we discussed as part of volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous business environments. So that's what happens. And what does velocity measure? It measures the amount of work a team can complete in a given specific period of time. As an agile leader, you are interested to know how quickly a project team can accomplish a project, and your team's capacity to complete a task, and also your team's productivity in terms of using resources and time. So throughput and velocity are used to evaluate a team's efficiency, and that's the job of an agile leader. And she can identify areas for improvement for the particular team. And velocity is again used for planning and forecasting to see how many more new projects can be handled by a particular team. And she, as an agile leader, is in charge of doing both both of these activities, as team performance metrics are important for organizational success. Now, you also have certain customer centric metrics that you would want to keep a close tab on as an agile leader. She would want to look at net promoter score as an important customer satisfaction measure, also the customer effort score, the usage analytics of a customer using a particular product or a service or a software piece that you have offered to the client. Feature adoption, again, the usage patterns of certain features, like you buy a camera, you buy a PC, or you buy a television. What's the usage patterns? The adoption rates, the feature retention will be determined based on this kind of data that you get from customer satisfaction data. Customer centric metrics that are still, again, important for us, those are continued in this slide, are team engagement, employee satisfaction, your own teams that work on specific projects, are they happy? Team turnover, psychological safety that we discussed in prior modules, where openness, communication is there, transparency is maintained, that employees feel, team members feel that they belong to the place, they're valued for their accomplishments. Leadership impact, again, a very important customer centric metric where decision effectiveness is valued in terms of product attributes, product features, product satisfaction from the customer side, strategy alignment towards mission advancement, innovation enablement in terms of supporting innovation in the workplace, provision of resources, and as well as provision of training to build competencies and capabilities towards driving innovation. Now, predictability and planning metrics, I think that's a very important metric that agile leaders are always thinking about, because they look at a thing called as a term called as release reliability. Now, in simple terms, running reliable services requires reliable release processes. Site reliability engineers, for example, that offer softwares, they need to know the binaries and configurations they use are built in reproducible, automated way so that releases are repeatable and are also not just simply unique snowflakes that happen once in a time. Consistency in release reliability is important for project deliveries, and site reliability engineers are very specific people who maintain a tab on release reliability, commitment reliability, sprint burn down, release burn up. These are important aspects that every company has to manage. And as an agile leader, for example, release engineering is a specific job function at Google, where release engineers work with software engineers in product development. And what happens is that site release reliability engineers are to define all the steps required to release a particular software, from how the software is stored in the source a code repository, to build rules for compilation, to how testing, packaging, and deployment are conducted. That's an entire process that's being monitored by an agile leader to make sure that you understand client requirements, that you're able to, pace your work properly as a team, and then you're keeping high levels of reliability in terms of release that matters to customers or clientele. Not all Google teams have release engineers, and it's not that every team has to have a release engineer, but it also depends on the kind of work that's being a part of a particular project. Estimation accuracy is another predictability and planning metric. Story point accuracy, sprint planning effectiveness, utilizing the full capacity of the team and resources at the disposal of the organization. That's extremely important for an agile leader who monitors if the team is able to use all the resources and can, when they tell a story, there is a sense of accuracy. When they plan, it is really effective. These are important elements that an agile leader keeps track of. Technical and quality KPIs. We've talked about this in several of our earlier modules, but in this case, suppose you take the same example of a software release of a software, then you're talking in terms of code complexity, test coverage, bug density, also the infrastructure health, system availability, response time, and recovery time. As an agile leader, you're also concerned about certain complexity issues like cyclomatic complexity. For example, it measures how complex a code is based on the number of decision points that are there and linearly independent pathways that are there in the program. Simply, it counts the number of decision paths through your code if you're developing a software code and your main product is a software release. It also complexity also talks about code churn. This metric measures the code added, modified, or deleted over a period of time, the amount of churn that goes on in the code itself. It indicates how stable or volatile the database is, the code base is, and how much effort a team spends on maintaining or changing the code. For instance, like the example that I gave of Google. Code coverage is another, complexity measuring KPI, where code coverage quantifies the percentage of your code base covered by automated tests. You need to test your softwares from time to time, and code coverage quantifies the percentage of your code base that is actually covered by all the automated tests out there. So it helps you assess how well your test suite covers your source code and identifies the areas that need more testing. And that's what is called test coverage. That's the second bullet point that you see there. And also, we talked about bug density, and that is where another metric comes into picture, like code security. So suppose your company is involved in releasing a software, like the example that I gave of Google. You also want to make sure the code security is taken care of, and that's an important metric. The code security metric measures how resistant the code is to attacks and risks, could include phishing attacks and hacking and the breach of system security itself. It indicates how well the code protects the data and functionality of the data of the software from unauthorized access modification, or destruction. So we need to make sure that these code quality metrics are taken care of. And as an agile leader, she's also responsible of looking at this kind of value and adding metrics that you are thinking of. Also, there is another metric called code documentation metric. This metric is important as well, the amount of quality of the documentation accompanying the code itself. It's very important for the client to be able to use that documented supporting material. It indicates how well documented the code is and how easy it is for the other developers or users to understand and use it at a later point of time. So that's another important aspect, that code documentation is an important metric. Code duplication is another metric that an agile leader would be interested in. This metric measures the amount of code repeated or copied in different parts of the code base. It indicates how well the code follows the don't repeat yourself principle and how efficient it is. High code duplication means the code has many redundant or unnecessary parts, increasing the code size, complexity, and maintenance effort when the particular product is software is used by a client. So when you talk about all these metrics, and also you're looking at the third bullet point that's there on this slide, which is the bug density. Code bug issues, the code style, code formatting, and syntax problems such as variable name style and enforcing the use of brackets and quotation marks. Error-prone code that hides bugs and language keywords that should be used with caution, such as certain operators in, say, JavaScript. Performance, the code that can have performance problems that should be taken care of. Compatibility issues, like mainly for front-end code, compatibility problems across browser versions could be a problem. Unused code, unused variables and methods, those have to be taken care of. Security, all security issues too should be taken care of. That is what we talk of code bug issues or bug density. And as an agile leader, she would have the responsibility to look at all these aspects in terms of a software product or a project. If it's a production of a car or an automobile or a hardware, again, the protocols are different, the elements are different, the quality aspects are different, the metrics are different. And obviously, accordingly, the agile leader should be able to take care of it. Now, innovation measurement and learning metrics, like we discussed in a prior module, innovation measurement can be based on how many experiments were conducted, how much is the experimentation rate in the organization, the velocity at which innovation is generated, the success ratio, and how we are able to successfully deliver a particular product for a clientele or for a group of customers. Learning indicators, how many skills have our employees acquired, the breadth and scope of these skill acquisition, knowledge sharing within the company, having a very strong repository of knowledge on which employees can base their learning from, and can utilize database for identifying problems and implementing solutions. Training effectiveness, the number of training programs to keep our employees upskilled and updated on the latest competencies required to perform their job. These are again very important metrics for an agile leader to keep track of because they are interested in ensuring that they generate value for customers at every point in the value chain. And they're also looking at focusing on innovation and creating a learning organization that does extremely well in terms of supporting employees with a strong culture of innovation, with a strong culture of staying ahead of competition, sustaining that competitive advantage, and being resilient in environments that are pretty volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. There are financial and business value metrics also that an agile leader should be aware of, like revenue per feature. If you are adding a feature to a particular product or a software, what's the additional revenue that you might perhaps generate? That's a financial implication. It's a return on investment measurement. That's again a very important thing. Cost per story point. If there is an addition of an additional feature, what's the cost to the company itself? Business impact. All the innovation should result in some kind of change, positive change in market share. Customer acquisition costs should be lowered. Customer lifetime value should be more. And obviously, these are very specific business impact measures or metrics that any agile leader is concerned with and wants to ensure that we do a great job while addressing these metrics. We're also interested as an agile leader on the process health. So agile leaders implement several innovations and opportunities within the organization, and therefore they are interested to measure how good our processes are and what's the process health. Agile processes indicators like ceremony effectiveness, retrospective actions, impediment resolution, anything to do with assessing projects, understanding success points, understanding challenges, problem areas, identifying areas of improvement, having continuous improvement implemented within the organization. Look at the process cycle efficiency. How long do we take from problem identification to solution generation and implementation? And again, looking at have we resolved a particular impediment or a concern. Also important to agile leaders is waste reduction. Again, like Kanban and Kaizen, we want to reduce waste, improve velocity of the innovation itself. We again refer back to Toyota's example with process KPIs, lean metrics, quality indicators, improvement tracking across all of their production and manufacturing. And Toyota is a classical example of process metrics. They're very concerned with quality, concerned with lean management as well. Risk and compliance metrics. As an agile leader, you're also responsible for keeping a risk registry, maintaining a risk registry of all systematic and unsystematic risks, risks that are within your control and risks which are completely out of your control. You have to have a risk registry. And as an agile leader, it's your responsibility to measure the level of risk from time to time, monitor risk levels across all activities and tasks, across all functional areas of management, across all departments and teams that work within the company, and what risk mitigation measures are you taking towards reducing risk. So risk management also includes security incidents that can happen in today's world and age of technology. You are under continuous attack in terms of cybersecurity compromises, breaches that can happen. So it's an agile leader's responsibility to make sure these security incidents are tackled well. There's leadership demonstrated while acknowledging a breach and then taking appropriate remedial action in quick time. The response rate is important. Identifying a problem, having the right kind of solutions in place and implementing them in quick time, and ensuring that customers continue to have their faith and confidence in the systems and in confidentiality of their personal information. And that's an important leadership role that leaders must have to play. Compliance violations, uh, agile leaders have to be on top of their game to make sure there are no compliance violations. Technical debt should not fall short on technical knowledge and technical competence within employees or within organizational systems. Risk and compliance metrics also includes governance effectiveness. Having a periodic audit is the responsibility of a leader, making sure auditing of processes, auditing of results, from time to time is done. Policy adherence is made sure that everybody adheres to the policy. Control effectiveness is in place, and risk is mitigated as much as possible while doing control effectiveness as well. A good case study for discussion here with risk and compliance metrics is JP Morgan Chase's risk metrics, where the three elements that JP Morgan Chase does follow and monitor is regulatory compliance, with the nature of business that JP Morgan Chase involves in, financial transactions and financial nature of its business. Regulatory compliance becomes of primordial importance. Security measures, again, because personal data is at stake, and risk indicators are continuously monitored, and appropriate action is taken to ensure risk is mitigated. Thank you.